Hello my fellow freedom builders and welcome back to the channel. It is Monday again and I know you have been looking forward to Monday because today it is Mining Monday. It is the 23rd of November 2020. There's about a month to Christmas and let's see if I can find some presents for you today. Now what we're going to have a look at today is of course the gold, silver, copper pricing and the DXY, meaning the US dollar, see how that is faring. We're going to have a look at the ETFs, as always, the GDX and GDXJ. Then we are going to have a look at some major copper producers. As you know, I introduced copper as an interesting metal here recently, and that has been going up a lot in contrast to the silver and gold that has been dropping. We'll have a look at that contrast today. And we're going to have a look at some other major companies in the gold and silver sector that has been really pushed down by the sellers right now. And there might be some good deals to be made there. But let's have a look at the beginning here with the gold, silver and copper. And of course, remember to subscribe to the channel and like it and all the jazz beneath the video. And as always, I will put all of the links to the articles I'm showing you here. I'll put that beneath the video as well. All right, let's have a look at it. And first of all, we have the gold pricing here. And as you know, if you have been following my channel here and the Mining Monday series for a while, you know that it has been in a downwards turning trend here. And then we got this break up. And I was pretty certain that this was the time we were going to go up. Now, then it got shut down. And the reason for that was, of course, the vaccine news that now Pfizer were producing a vaccine. And all of a sudden, people thought that everything was good again. But here over the last couple of weeks, I think people have realized that it might not be just over just as quickly. So there might be some break up here, and at least you can see this slightly upwards trending trend line here, or we could also make it on the top of the bottoms here, but it is around 1850 here. If it breaks below here, I think there is a way to go down here in another wave down here, but I have a feeling, and this is just a feeling, so I'm not investing on this feeling, but that the break could come up here. I'll show you in a second why. Now this is a gold and the silver is showing pretty much the same picture here. However, the upwards trending slide here is somewhat steeper. And again, I think this could show us a tendency of breaking up towards this here up around 26 and a half. If it does that, I think the downward channel here is broken. But if it breaks down here below somewhere around 23.4 here, I think also that we could have a move somewhat lower here. I don't know how much, but I think if we get a move lower here, that will be the final move down before the metal prices are going to go up. Looking at copper, then last week, that was around here, I said there was some very good chances that we could move further up. And I actually mentioned, and that was not my number, that was just a number that I can see a lot of places on the internet. People are talking about 330 being somewhat of a resistance area. Now, I am mostly a trend follower, so I'm not much into these areas saying now it can't go any further. I actually think as long as a trend is going, I am following it. And right now, this is a very decent trend. We can see the regression channel here is at 0.964, meaning that it is very good at containing the price. And when we are in last week we were in the lower part of the regression channel, but right now we are just around the middle. That could easily suggest that there was some move to the upside here up to around 350. But that is just guesswork. As you know, I never predict, I just follow trends. So this is the copper futures and they are showing some really strong trending signals here. So let's have a look at the dollar. And as you know, I've been saying a lot, the dollar is negatively correlated to the gold and silver. Not to copper, but to gold and silver. And as you can see, the gold has actually been trending downwards here. Sorry, not the gold, the dollar, of course, the DXY. And we are in a range where if we break this lower band here, if the DXY gets down to 91.7 maybe here, and we get a real break, then I think the dollar will get weaker quickly. And that will definitely help our silver and dollar break upwards here. So don't just have a look at the gold, also have a look at the DXY. That tells you a lot. Another thing that is very interesting is that, let's just have the menu here where we can see it. The GDX, as you can see here, this is the ETF for the large miners. As you can see, that has actually broken down through this support area that I drew here and down, and it is just resting on the 200 SMA, the 200-day moving average here, and it is quite in the lower end of this channel. But try and compare this, because you would say that these majors and also the juniors, they were correlating with the gold price. But have a look at this. You can see here that we are actually moving slightly upwards here in the gold price, and we also made a higher high here. But when you're looking at the GDX, you can actually see, well, you can see the higher high, but then they were the gold prices were the gold stocks were being shot down in price way more than we actually see the gold. So it is as if the investors in the gold sectors are getting a bit worried. Was that really the bull trend for this time? So they're selling out of the gold producing companies, maybe more than the price actually suggests that it should. So this is a bit moving later than the gold price. So if we get a gold price that shoots up, I think we will see some quite violent move upwards in the GDX. And the same for the GDXJ here, which is actually still resting on the former top here, which is now support. So that is just my thought on it. We are actually seeing a divergence where we are seeing another price move in the gold than we see in the large gold stocks. So that is quite interesting to see how that plays out. All right, that was the overall market. Now, I promised you to have a look at some big copper producers, and I have a link here to the, of course I'll link to it below here, from minesandmetals.com. It is a website that you should follow if you're looking at mines. And what we have here is the world's top 10 biggest copper producers from 2019. And we can follow them here. There's something written about each and every one. They are listed up here, how many tons of copper they are producing, how that have changed from 18 to 19. You can see many of them have had some smaller production. We talked about that in an earlier video, how we can actually see that the overall copper production is leveling out at the same time as the demand for copper is exploding upwards. So we are pretty certain that that will keep an upwards pressure on the copper price. And when I say we, it is of course not just me, because we have our mining expert Lasse, another Danish guy here helping me with the analysis, and he's also available for the subscribers on the Market Timer Special. My paying subscribers in Denmark, he's helping them out with a lot of mining questions as well. So he is a huge help, and these videos would not have half the content if it wasn't for him. Now, we have these 10 stocks here, and together with Lasse, I have picked out a couple of them. I picked out Southern Copper, and I have picked out Freeport McMoran to have a bit of a further look at. And if we just have a look at the stock price first, we have the Southern Copper here, and if we look at that, we can see that it follows the copper price quite nicely. They had what we talk about also in the gold price and silver price, a bull flag here, meaning that we have this very nice move upwards. We have a bull flag, and then it breaks up and continues extremely well trending upwards here. For a trend follower, this is really what it's all about. It is about catching these very nice moves. Now, looking at the the operation, the Southern Copper. The firm's operation, they are primarily within southern Peru and northern Mexico. And last week we spoke about this ring of fire, if you remember this ring of volcanoes around the world, where around 75-80% of all volcanoes are located, and that is where we find a lot of copper. And the company has 2 enormous porphyry deposits in southern Peru that they are mining right now. Both mines has enormous long life reserves, but as we also said in the last week, these part of the world are home to some quite significant geopolitical political risks. And in the past, there has been some strikes at the largest mine, and they also have a project in Peru called Tia Maria, where a social protest started in 2015, even though the project is completely granted by the Peruvian government. Southern Copper is confident this will be a mine soon, but keep the political risk in mind when you choose these mines. It is easy to be lured into something you would say is very good value because you don't pay too much for what the resources they have in the ground, and then completely forget that there are some huge geopolitical risks here. The operations in Mexico offers a lot less risk, and they also have some great mines here. Actually, the Caninea mine in Mexico has the longest remaining mine life of any major open pit copper mine in the world. Let's talk about some numbers here and valuations. This company recently came out with the Q3 results with a record EBITDA due to higher copper prices and falling production costs. This is great, but we suspect that the production cost will rise in Q4 due to some coming maintenance that has been postponed in Q3. So the numbers from Q3 might be a bit skewed because they have pushed some of the cost into Q4. We think this is a great company, but its valuation is quite high comparing to the earnings for instance, the Freeport-McMoRan that we'll have a look at in a second. So it is a very good mine, but a bit high price right now, especially when we consider the geopolitical risk we are looking at. Now, the Freeport-McMoRan shows pretty much the same upwards trend, didn't have the same bull flag here. That was just a week of retracement, and then it continued up. And as you can see here, let's just have a look at it for a second. We can see something I like to do with the regression channel here is to have, let's see, July, August, September here, have the regression line to see what is the quarterly growth rate of this regression line. And right now, the Freeport-McMoRan is actually growing at a rate of 42% per quarter. And of course, that is not sustainable forever, but as long as the copper price keeps going up, and of course there can be a retracement, but we believe that the overall copper trend will keep steady bull trending for, I don't know, several years actually. So I think we can see the Freeport-McMoRan actually keep trending up. Freeport-McMoRan has a forward earnings yield at about 8%, which is almost twice as much as the Southern Copper I mentioned just a couple of minutes ago. Again, Southern Copper has very low cost mines with long mine lives, plus the Mexico definitely has lower risk than many of their peers. But right now, we actually believe that the Freeport-McMoRan is a better buy based on earnings. Freeport-McMoRan's cash cost per pound was twice as high in Q3 compared to Southern Copper, but over 50% of their copper production is produced in the United States, which we like due to this minor political risk. So here we have an example that you can say that we actually have higher costs, but we do like the higher costs because the mines are located in a lot more steady and solid political environment. But you also have to expect higher cash costs here. 1/3 of the production comes from Chile, which has the same political risk as Peru. The rest of the production comes from the very famous Grasberg mine in Indonesia that you might have heard about. That is the largest gold mine and second largest copper mine in the world. It is notable here that the government of Indonesia owns 51% of the mine after a deal in 2017. In return, Freeport-McMoRan got the rights to a new melter and will rapidly increase production here in 2021. Freeport expects an annual production of 3.15 billion pounds in 2020 and 4.1 billion pounds in 2022, actually due to the Grasberg mine. Also, the cash cost should decline greatly as Grasberg ramps up. In our opinion, these are both great companies, the Southern and the Freeport here, and they could be some great leverage to a rising copper price. But they will also work as a leverage on the way down. This is worth taking into consideration after this wild run up, and then of course that the world is shutting down due to the COVID issue. All right. That was the copper mining, and of course you can have a look at the 10 largest copper mines yourself and go into depth with some of them. The BHP here we actually mentioned last week due to some other projects, so there are some very nice deals around here. But as I said, these are the two we are looking at for the most part of it. Then we have another thing here at the end, and that was to have a look at some of the major stocks that have been beating down. In this correction, in the gold silver correction here, we see some miners, a lot of miners actually, especially the mid-tiers and juniors. They have fallen way more than gold and silver itself. That is what I showed you on this. It was diverting between the gold price and the GDX and GDXJ. Which means that there are some solid companies out there with great earnings, and they are there to buy when the gold and silver starts to rise again. We would not suggest that you just start picking them up right now because nobody really knows how far down gold and silver will go. So we want to see a confirmation on the break up on gold and silver. First one is one of our favorite streamer companies. That is the Wheaton Precious Metal. And let's just have a look at the chart there for a second. Comes here. You can see here it has had a drop from a top to a bottom here of 30%, and that was from the top here in end July. And they just came with a Q3 report with a record earning of $307.3 million, representing an increase of 37.4% from Q3 in 19. And up 23.9% sequentially. In addition, they declared a quarterly dividend of $0.12 per share, and that is a 20% increase from Q2 here in 2020. So that is very nice. That could be an interesting play. Again, we do want to see the prices, metal prices going up, and here we are simply talking about the metal prices going up, and then the start of some sort of uptrend. Now, depending on your own strategy, I am myself a trend follower, so I would want to see a break of the downtrend. But if you are more of a value player, then you might want to have a look at the gold and silver prices, and if they start to shoot up, then you might pick one of these larger miners, even though you don't see a beginning trend yet. That is completely up to you and to your investment temperament and how much risk you can stomach. The next one is a very interesting one here, and that is, of course, the Barrick Gold Corporation, also one that we have seen shooting up here and down 23%. And as you might recall, that was actually the one that was mentioned all over the media because the good old Warren Buffett was buying it, and it was a big thing in the gold or the mining environment, because Warren Buffett has always stated that he would never touch gold ever in his life because gold was not producing any dividends, they were not producing any results, it was just lying there. And people were laughing a bit and saying, yeah, well, now he's buying gold. Well, actually, he wasn't. He was buying gold mines, and Barrick Gold is producing some very good profits, and he was buying the profit, he was buying the business. Well, maybe it wasn't Warren Buffett himself. As far as I can tell, more and more managers are taking over some of the investments, so it might not have been Warren Buffett himself making this play. But the funny thing is that if you have been following Warren Buffett's career, he has always been saying that the best time to buy is now, and the best time to sell is never. So pretty much he's holding on forever. Now that is not what we can see right now, because Warren Buffett's Berkshire trims their stake in Barrick Gold. This is from the Motley Fool. I'll link to that below. But they actually sold some 40% of stakes. It was actually 42% of their stake in Barrick Gold after just 3 to 4 months. So what really happened to holding forever? Another thing Warren Buffett is very well known for saying is, we never trim our position. If we don't like a company, we sell it all. Well, what happens to Berkshire trimming their stake? I'm not really certain about that. But then again, I'm not one of the world's richest men, so they are, of course, a lot cleverer than I am. You can read about it here. I'll read about more about the Barrick Gold here. I have another article here. Buffett reduces Barrick Gold holdings. Actually, David Finch is saying here, EEG, ABX, that was quick. Buffett sold 9 million shares of ABX in the quarter, trimming the position 42% from Q2. Whatever happened to my favorite holding period is forever. That is exactly what I just said. Something is a bit fishy here. So the Berkshire Hathaway might be changing a bit of their view of the world. Now, Barrick Gold, as I mentioned, is down somewhere between 20 and 25% from the top. And in the Q3 report, it shows that they have increased their free cash flow 151% and adjusted EBITDA almost 50% from Q2. High gold and rising copper prices have been a big part of that. Many may not know, but Barrick is actually quite a large copper producer, and between 10 and 50% of their revenue comes from copper. In this article, the article I just showed you, you can see that they're actually considering expanding their copper business, but you can read more about that yourself. All right. At the end here, I have 3 more stocks actually, that these were just a bit more in depth. I have 3 more to show you on the chart, and that is coming up here. Here is Newman Corporation, the first of them, and that is a very interesting one of the large companies as well. If you have been following my channel for a while, you know that this one is actually making a bit of a pattern that I do like on the technical side, and that is one where I can see there's a lot of large players selling out here just around the 70 mark, but there's a tendency that the buyers are getting in earlier and earlier. Now, when I see this on a weekly chart, I really like it. On a daily chart it can be fine, but on a weekly chart, if we get to break the upper line here, it shows us that the large sellers that have been selling out and thinking that 70 is a fair value to sell at, now they might be running out of shares to sell, or the buyers are simply just too strong. And if it breaks up here, I think there is some really, really good upside potential in the Newman Corporation. Definitely. On a daily chart, we can see it all looks a bit messy, but you can see the formation here, which is quite clear. Of course, we could draw it a bit more precisely just looking at the daily chart, but this one on a weekly should do. So look at take a look at Newman Corporation and see if it breaks up. If you have the trading view here, you can just put an alert in on this line. If you have the paid version, then you get alerted when it breaks. Newman is one of them. Another one is one of the very interesting stocks that I mentioned some weeks ago, and that was a B2 Gold. Where I mentioned it was just around here, down at the bottom, and I said if it bounces from this bottom, it can be a good swing play upwards, but I was not completely confident in an upwards trend before I had seen something like this. happening, meaning that we are breaking out of this range. We are getting down and getting some buyer strength, showing us that this was just not a simple fake out instead of a breakout. But what happened here is actually that it was rejected at this upper part of the channel here, or the sideways range, where the sellers are getting in just below 950, and there was actually seller strength enough to shoot it down through the bottom of the range, which is not very positive here. So right now, personally, I would not touch the B2 gold, but we're still very positive on the company itself. But as I have mentioned several times also in my videos about technical and fundamental analysis, we can easily find a case where we do like it fundamentally and saying, yes, we would actually like the business. But when the chart shows us that nobody else wants to own the stocks, then we don't want to own it either. Now, what I want to see here is definitely some upwards trending prices, and I would actually like this price to be broken. And I know that you think, oh wow, that is way up here. If you want this to be broken and then retracement and so on, you want the stock to go up maybe 25% before you buy it. Isn't that too much? Well, that depends. If you take a look at this down here, from the bottom here, you could have looked at it here when it went up from the bottom 25%, and you could have said, oh no, I don't want it because 25%, then most of the increase must have happened, and then it just kept going up, and you would have missed a 218% upwards increase in price here. So don't be afraid. That's at least my opinion. Don't be afraid to wait for confirmation that the buyers are coming in. That is my policy when I invest anyway. The last one is one of the stocks that I have made a complete video about, and that was the Pan American Silver, which is a company I actually like a lot too. I think I made the video around here when it was somewhere around 28, 29 as far as I recall, and it had a very good streak here going up. Then it started to go down, and as I mentioned, I was out of my positions down here around the 33, and then I have been going sideways and slightly to the downside for a while. Here you can easily see the break up with the price in gold and silver, where I thought personally that we were going to have a very good uptrend here. Again, I do like to see a little confirmation, a little retracement, and then the buyers getting in, and we simply didn't get that here. So what I'm looking at the Pan American Silver is some sort of large sideways area here, where I am really eager to get in the stock. I actually do like the stock a lot, but I do want to see some sort of formation here. And again, that might cost me the first 30% of the move. But again, if we take a look at how violently these stocks can move when the metal prices are moving, we can see 200 to 300 prices in a very short while here. And that was just not because we had the drop down in the spring. You can see here from the bottom to a top here is 150%. And we can see it down here that just some slight moving in it is easily 33%. So what I'm saying here is don't be afraid that you miss the first 10 or 20 or 30% if it is a stock you really believe in and it is supported by the metal prices. So Pan American Silver, absolutely also a stock that I am I'm getting back to often to see how it is moving, and I'm just awaiting the right price movement. All right, that's it for today. It was the overall pricing. It was a look at the prices to see if we get the break up, maybe some divergence between the gold prices and the GGX and GDXJ. Had a look at a couple of major copper producers and then some of the major other mining companies to see what we are actually monitoring and hoping to get in on very soon. That's all for now. Just remember that if you want to receive some news from me here, both about our videos, about mining and overall a little investment course that I'm sending out, then you can go into buildingfreedom.dk. We have it right here. I'll link to it below here, buildingfreedom.dk. And you can sign up with your newsletter and you'll start receiving some very interesting emails from me very shortly. So have a look at that. Remember to subscribe and like the video and all that below the video. And take care of yourself and your money out there. And I'll talk to you again very shortly. Bye for now.